What happens when your security tools don't catch an adversary? Maybe the adversary was in there prior to you installing the tools. If this happens, you are probably in over your head. And a lot of times these nation states that we are dealing with are 2 steps ahead of our security tooling anyways. As MSPs, you are all on the front lines of this activity, and I am sure that you have been dealing with this in the past. As an MDR provider, I want to go over the role of threat hunting and how this revolutionizes managed detection and response. So I'm Brittany Deaton. I have been in the industry for about 13 years. I started off as an engineer. I have spent the majority of my time in the SOC as well as incident response. I've done it in the private sector. I've done it in the public sector. I also used to teach at the University of Texas, and I help out with our computer science students at Appalachian State University. Currently a solutions engineer at Sophos. So who's Sophos? Really quick glance at the product portfolio. We've got 40 years under our belt of cybersecurity products and services. We have won multiple awards with Gartner and G2, and we have scored super high on the MITRE ATT&CK evaluations. We onboarded a Southeast Asian government entity onto our managed detection and response service. And what we didn't know at the time is that they were already dealing with the Chinese nation state. We onboarded with a breach. Little did we know that they had been in there for years prior to us discovering this. They also had what was called a mixed estate, which meant that they only wanted to protect a subset of machines, and the rest we had literally no visibility into. I don't know if you have customers that are like, I only want it on our servers. Please don't do that. And so we were really stuck between a rock and a hard place. This was a really delicate situation for us where it's like, we don't have all the information, we can't take any response actions. This adversary's been in there for years. Like, what do? We have no idea how they got in there. Started with PowerShell being used as a command and control channel. Here's the process tree. First thing we noticed, and there are 3 things that I want to go over. VMware executable VMNAT, this was residing in a Microsoft directory in program data. Not where it should be, but that's okay. It was also being used as a PowerShell command to run to a .info domain. Not good. We also saw that same executable using an unsigned binary, Sophos UD. Guess what? That's not us. We do not use unsigned binaries, and if you see this in your environment, it's not us. We don't do it. The last thing that we saw was this SSL-WND64 hash. It was an exact match to nation-state activity that we had seen in the past. So it's super overwhelming at this time. We don't typically find this type of activity in the environment. And so we were really, really concerned. But at this point, we're like, maybe it's not just one threat actor. Maybe it's like 3. And we were looking at process execution, network data, attack flows. We were looking at patterns of activity. And what we found was that there were 3 separate clusters of activity. Now, a lot of this activity is stuff that we had never seen before. So it's not just us that didn't find it, it's all these other security vendors that had never seen this activity before either. No one had found these things. This was a coordinated attack that takes place over years, and they would just go dark, they would go silent, and then they would start testing new tools over and over again that we had never seen before. They're constantly 2 steps ahead of our tooling, and that is just how nation states work. And so, despite us blocking all of this, we saw a period of dormancy, but what we didn't realize that Charlie was going to come back with a vengeance and install a ton of new tooling that, again, we had never seen before. So what do we take away from this study? The first one is that you need hunting, all right? The tools are not enough. The tools are going to miss stuff. The tools only work when you say, I have a pattern, block this pattern. There are people on the front lines of these attacks, and we need to think like people, and you need to make sure that you are prepared to respond to attacks when you don't have a pattern of activity that is already recognized. If you want good intelligence, you need to make sure that you watch before you respond. The reason why our intelligence team was able to catch all of these 13 different malware families that we had never seen before was because we were able to not only watch what happened, but we put together a good picture of what was going on first and foremost. So we want to make sure that we understand the adversary. If you have data that proves that you don't have exfiltration, you're going to be in a really good situation. Deploy your sensors everywhere. Servers are typically not how adversaries get in. It's actually user endpoints. And so even if you're like, I just want to make sure the crown jewels are protected, make sure that you also have your endpoints protected. The more data you have, the easier it is for us to put the pieces together, and if we can prove that you didn't get breached or that there's no exfiltration of data, it's a lot cheaper to manage that situation. The reason that we were able to do this is kind of 3 pillars. The first being our endpoint. That focuses on blocking. Now, XDR gives us the ability to see kind of that process level behavior, and it gives us the ability to choose, instead of like the locks on the doors, it gives us that ring camera to go inside and investigate to a full capability. And without that, you can't build better tooling. MDR is typically going to be people who are already just responding to detections, but if you have threat hunting and intelligence built into that team, they are the reason why your tools continue to evolve, right? The tools stagnate without the teams that are looking for new and emerging threats and trends. You are only as good as your threat hunting and intelligence teams. At the end of the day, if the tooling doesn't catch something, you still need to make sure that you have people that understand how to do the manual work to find stuff that hasn't existed before, and make sure that you've got these people in addition to the people that know how to respond to the things that we've already caught prior. So if you need help with that, please come see me. I'm at booth 400 with the Sophos team. We would love to talk to you guys about how to make sure that your environment stays secure. Thank you so much.